Hello, everybody. I'm Jean Strock. I'm an advisor at Saturn Advice, and I'm joined this morning by Abhi Jagwani, who's a chartered accountant at mytaxca.co.nz, and we are going to step you through how you complete a basic tax return, which basically means how do you enter your foreign income from Saturn into your tax return. The good news is that you also can deduct your portfolio management expenses, so it's well worth doing. And just as a disclaimer, which Abhi will reiterate, that we're not providing you with tax advice, and you really should see your accountant if you have any more specialist tax requirements. So every year in May, Saturn provides you with a very comprehensive tax report that's generated out of our platform, which is from NZX Wealth Tech. And this gives you all the information you need to complete your tax return. So I'll hand over to you, Abhi, if you can step us through how you take the information from the tax report and put it into your tax return.
Sure. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Abhi Jagwani from MyTaxCA. Today, we'll take you through as to how to enter the information from the Saturn Advice summary page into your tax return. Before I start, just wanted to say that this is not a tax advice. This is just a simple scenario which we have worked on to see and help you as to how to enter the information and how to file your tax return. If you do have any complicated things like trust, company, investments, business, I would highly recommend seeing your accountant. So let's get started. Now, as you can see that this is the summary page of Saturn Advice. When we receive the pack from them, the summary is normally on page 7 or page 8. This is where we will have all the information to enter it into our tax return. So as we can see that we have received some foreign income, we have received some overseas income, New Zealand interest, and expenses which have been deducted by Saturn Advice. And the best thing is that we will be able to claim these expenses against our income. So for us to file the tax return, the first step is to log on to your MyIR account. Now, there are two ways to log in. You could either log in through your Realme account, or you could go on MyRDA website and enter your username and password. Now, if this is the first time you're entering the information or logging in, I would suggest click on Not Yet Registered and register yourself with MyIR. Once you have logged into your MyIR account, a next screen will appear, which would look something like this. That would be basically your summary screen. Now, in this case, we are looking at filing the tax. So let's go on the right-hand side and click on Returns and Transactions. Now, once we have clicked on Returns and Transactions, it will take us to the next screen, which will show us all the tax for the previous year and this year. We are interested in filing the 2022 tax return. So let's click on File Now. Now, once we have clicked on File Now, next screen will appear, which would show us individual income, all the options basically what IRD has. So click Next. Now, once we have clicked Next, IRD does hold information on your behalf, which is basically your PAYE income, your superannuation income, and any New Zealand interest received and dividend received. So we don't need to enter that through. IRD already has got that information. So we will just simply click Next, and the next screen will appear. Now, on this screen, we do need to tick the boxes that apply to us. So whatever we are wanting to file with IRD, we need to tick on that. So we will tick on New Zealand dividends, overseas income, and claiming expenses, and click Next. Now, if you do have got any other forms that you would want to file with IRD, like a rental income, business income, beneficiary income from the trust, then you would be selecting. In this case, given that it's a simple tax return, we'll simply take no secondary form to submit and click Next. Now, again, in this case, we don't have any situation that applies to us. This is not the last year of our tax return. We have not been bankrupt, no, nothing to file. So we'll simply say no specific situation applied to us and click next. Now, on this screen, if we do have any disclosures to make, like if we have sold a rental property or if there are any fifth or sixth disclosures, we would tick those. But in this case, we don't have any disclosures to make. So it would be simply the last one, which would be ticked and next. Now, this is where we will enter the information on our income tax return on my IR based on the summary pack received by Saturn Advice. And the information would be on page 7 or page 8. So let's quickly jump on to our summary page and see what information is required from us. So as we can see that we have received foreign income and we have received a little bit of New Zealand interest income. Now, New Zealand interest income would already be there on your My IR, so you do not need to enter this through. But I would strongly recommend just double check to make sure that it's there and it's not being missed by IRT. Now, with regards to the foreign income, we can see that there are two different methods that have been used, CV, FDR, and then we have got forced CV. So let's quickly see what CV and FDR and forced CV means. And that would give us a little bit of indication as to what we are doing and how our investments are doing. So CV is basically just the gains made on the investments over the years, which is basically closing value plus gains minus opening value plus cost. That's how your CV is calculated. FDR, on the other hand, is simply 5% of the opening value plus any adjustments for buy and sell. So we can choose any one of these, whichever is lower, and put that through in our tax return. With any of these options, we have to choose forced CV. So this has to be added to CV or FDR, whatever we select. So when we look at our summary page, back again, we can see that our CV last year was 42,860.90 cents and FDR was 6,378.33 cents. So we can see the lower of these is FDR. So we would take FDR and forced CV into account in our income tax return. And we can see that there was a little bit of foreign with tax which was withheld. On FDR was $33.27, and forced CV we had $11.76. So before I show you how to enter the income, I'll quickly pass this on to Jane to explain us how the markets have performed last year to give you some indication. Back to you, Jane.
That's right, Abby. So there's quite a discrepancy here between FDR and CV. And just to remind you that we're using the reports from the previous tax year for this presentation. So this tax year started on the 1st of April 2020, which was right at the depths of the market sell-off when COVID started. So 5% of your opening value was extremely low. So that's why the FDR is so favourable in this tax year. CV is very high because, again, the year started from a very low point and then the markets and the investments really recovered. So we ended up with a very high CV. So this tax year, clearly, you'll choose FDR. It's very likely that the following tax year will be quite different, but we'll have to wait and see.
Great, thank you. So let's see how to enter this income on our tax return. Now, this is our tax return on my IR. Under overseas income, we will add FDR and post CV, which is total amount is 8,121.20 cents. So that is going to go as gross income. We did have some foreign withheld tax. The total of FDR and forced CV is $45.03, and that will be added and entered here. So once we have entered our overseas income, we will click next. And if we do have any other source of income, self-employed or any portfolio income, you enter it here. Now, in this case, we don't have any other source of income. So we'll just simply leave this blank and click Next. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we will be able to claim the expenses incurred as the administration expenses for Saturn Advice. So in this case, our total expense was 2,648.49 cents, and we will be able to claim that against our income. So once we go on the next slide, as we had ticked, we are claiming expenses initially when we did the disclosures, we will enter the expenses here, 2,648.49 cents. And then click Next. Next screen will appear, which will basically just show you the summary of the information what you have entered. If you're happy with the information entered, click File Return. The return will be filed with IRD. And it will automatically populate whether you have got a refund coming from IRD or you have got a payment to make to IRD. So if you do have a refund coming from IRD, make sure IRD has got your bank account number so that they can deposit the money in your account. If you have a payment to make, then you can go and make the payment to IRD through your online banking by clicking on Pay Tax on your online banking. And I hope this explains you as to how to file a simple tax return, and you should be able to then do it on your own.
Thank you, Abby. One of my rules of life is always to stay on the right side of the tax department. You never want those guys after you. So this has been really helpful, and thank you so much for taking us through that. And again, if you do have more complex needs, you really need to talk to either Abby, your own accountant, or some other tax specialist. So thank you, Abby, and we hope this has been helpful for everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Goodbye.